Inside a wasp nest is a complex system of hospitals, storage facilities, and defense shelters, all made by some of nature's smallest creatures. But what's really happening behind those layers of paper? A wasp nest might look like a simple ball hanging from a tree, attached to a house, or hidden underground. But inside, an entire colony is constantly working, eating, growing, and defending itself. And surprisingly, it all starts with just one queen. At the beginning of the colony's life, the queen is responsible for almost everything. She finds a suitable location and begins constructing the first few cells of the nest. These small hexagonal cells become the nursery where her first generation of young are raised. The queen lays eggs inside the cells, and after they hatch, the developing larvae need constant care and food. At this point, the queen has to do nearly all of the work herself, but eventually the first workers mature. Once these workers are ready, usually after roughly 28 to 48 days, everything changes. The workers take over most of the colony's jobs. They build new sections of the nest, search for food, feed developing larvae, remove waste, maintain the nest, and defend the colony from threats. Meanwhile, the queen can focus almost entirely on her most important job, laying eggs. As more workers are produced, the colony becomes larger and more organized. And this is where things start getting really interesting. Inside the nest are hundreds and sometimes thousands of individual cells. These cells are used to raise the next generation. A developing wasp goes through several stages. First, there is the egg. After the egg hatches, a small larva emerges. The larva stays inside its cell while worker wasps bring it food. The larvae grow rapidly because they are constantly being supplied with food. Eventually, they reach the pupal stage. During this stage, the developing wasp undergoes a dramatic transformation inside its cell. It may look like nothing is happening from the outside, but inside that cell, the wasp is developing into an adult. Eventually, the new wasp emerges and joins the colony, and the cycle starts all over again. As the colony grows, the nest also expands. More workers means more construction, more food being brought in, and more young being raised. But a large colony also has something else: a very effective defense system. Wasp colonies are extremely protective of their nest. Workers constantly monitor the area around the colony, and when something unusual gets too close, they can react quickly. Depending on the species, workers may detect movement, vibrations, or other signs that something is threatening the nest. Once a threat is detected, the colony can go from completely calm to extremely aggressive in a matter of seconds. One defensive worker can alert other workers, and suddenly dozens of wasps may leave the nest to investigate the threat. In very large colonies, hundreds of workers can potentially become involved. The reason for this aggressive behavior is simple. The colony represents a massive investment of time and energy. The workers aren't just defending a piece of paper, they're defending the queen, the larvae, the pupae, and the future of the entire colony. But eventually, even the largest wasp colony reaches its final days. As summer ends and temperatures begin to drop, the colony's priorities change. The queen eventually stops producing large numbers of normal workers. Instead, the colony begins producing reproductive males and new queens. These new queens have a completely different mission. They leave the colony and mate with males, preparing for the next generation. As fall continues, the old colony begins to break down. The workers become less active, food becomes harder to find, and eventually the original colony dies. The nest that was once filled with thousands of constantly moving wasps can become almost completely silent. Some of the newly produced queens survive the winter by finding protected places where they can shelter from the cold. Most won't survive, but the few that do will emerge when spring returns. And when that happens, the entire process begins again. A surviving queen finds a new location, starts building a nest, lays her first eggs, and raises her first workers. Those workers eventually take over the jobs of building, hunting, feeding, and defending. And from one surviving queen, an entirely new colony can grow. So the next time you see a wasp nest, remember what's happening behind those paper walls. It's not just an empty structure, it's a living colony with nurseries, food storage, workers, defenders, and a queen producing the next generation. And almost the entire colony is eventually going to die. But somewhere out there, a new queen is hiding. waiting for spring to start the whole cycle again.